Hello, this is Wilson Smart, and I'm going to be covering the end of Chapter 3 from Sager and Williams, which goes over producing your own rate of growth charts. Okay, this is slide 2, and this is where I'm going to go over the 7 steps you can follow to produce a rate of growth chart. So essentially, this was just concerned with how you can use or make your own rate of growth chart to track your adequate yearly progress for your students. So the 7 steps are: compile a list of skills, review the list of skills, identify necessary sub-skills, put the sub-skills in sequence, plan how sub-skills will be implemented, track data via line graph, and then number 7 is kind of a doozy, but just quickly, it's one of the things you have to do is create a pre-test and post-test. So over the next few slides, I'm going to be going over in deeper detail over these 7 steps for how you can produce a rate of growth chart. Okay, slide 3. So steps 1 through 4 are all sort of this gathering information stage where you are identifying targets. So I'm a language arts teacher. In my step 1, I would need to figure out the skills with examples that I could be that students need to learn by the end of the year. So and I'd want to put them in sequence. So I know at the beginning of the year I have certain tests that I need to have students complete, and they sort of lead into more difficult tests by the end of the year. So you just want to make sure that sequence is in order. Next, step 2, just review that. Step 3, identify necessary sub-skills. So this is where you really got to get detailed with your planning and figure out, okay, well, I need them to write an essay by this time, so I need them to be able to summarize by this time. I need them to be able to cite text evidence by this time. So what sub-skills do you need to teach in sequence in order to have students show mastery of the larger skills? And then step 4 is adjust sequencing to allow the most natural progression of skills. So while this is kind of obvious, it also is difficult to make sure that your sub-skills sort of build on one another and have a natural progression of skills. Slide 4 and step 5 is the planning and implementation. So you got to figure out, okay, there's 36 weeks in a school year. I have 72 separate sub-skills. That means I got to teach 2 sub-skills a week. So this is where you plan to make that happen, which makes it a lot easier for you to track the growth and like weekly or bi-weekly figure out, are students mastering this? Are they on track to hit their yearly expected growth? Slide 5 and step 6, this is tracking data. So like I said, you have these sub-skills that you're supposed to be teaching on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. This is where you keep a running record of whether these students are mastering these sub-skills. And then you should make a line graph that just basically illustrates which students are showing proficiency versus which students are not. Slide 6 and step 7, implementing a school-wide system to track sub-skill mastery. So this is like on a macro scale. This is on a school-wide scale. You would want all the teachers across curriculums to have their own sub-skills that they are tracking. And then you would want everybody to have a sort of test that, like a pre-test that you could give students at the beginning of the year to see, okay, which skills do they already have? And then at the end of the year, you give them that same test and see how much growth they've made over the year. And that's basically the conclusion of the chapter. So now I have 2 discussion questions for you. The first one is, how can producing your own rate of growth charts help you track the progress towards a long-term target? And then secondly, this one I think is more interesting to me. Assuming there are 36 academic weeks in a school year, how many sub-skills per week do you think is a realistic expectation for students to learn? So I'm sure that'll be a different answer for everybody depending on their subject, but I'm still very interested to hear. And finally, there was not any additional source in this chapter or this part of the chapter, so my one citation is from Sager and Williams. All right, well, thank you guys, and I hope this wasn't too boring. I enjoyed making it, and I look forward to your discussion posts.